when I received your question about what has changed over time, I started to think of, well, for how long have I been in this system? And indeed, what has changed? And I started my career in 1999 at the World Trade Organization, just a few weeks before the Seattle ministerial meeting of the WTO. Some of you may remember that that was a rather traumatic type of event where there were a lot of demonstrations, sometimes violent, against the WTO. And I asked myself, what was society expecting from the trading system at the time? What were they expecting and not getting? And the kind of things that society was complaining against was the labor outcomes of globalization. And I'm on purpose using vague expressions here. Labor conditions were not as they were expecting. More generally, the balance between what capital gets and what other parts of society get was not right. The environmental outcomes were not satisfactory, and the developmental outcomes were not considered satisfactory. I think what this reflects is maybe in line with what Mr. Lighthizer argues, that people are not just expecting efficiency. There's something else they were expecting. Now, 4 issues on the agenda. Where are we 20 years later? Unions are still not happy about working conditions. The balance between capital and labor, or capital and others, is, if anything, worse, as Mr. Roderick also appears to have suggested. The environmental debate has been sharpened, is still a very important issue on the agenda, but has not been addressed satisfactorily. So no, the discussion hasn't changed. What has changed is that civil society doesn't seem to expect the trading system to solve these issues anymore. Around 10 years ago, I heard somebody say at another ministerial of the WTO, we have become so irrelevant that nobody is even demonstrating against us anymore. So 3 important issues still on the agenda, maybe not being considered an issue for the trade agenda anymore by the society. What about the 4th point? The developmental outcomes have, in some quarters, had dramatically positive effects. And here I'm thinking of China. In these 20 years, one actor has grown a lot. GDP per capita increased, poverty rates decreased dramatically, and most of us would agree that trade had something to do with it. So does this lead to us being happy about the multilateral trading system? Not sure. You used in your introduction, the term, this has led to strategic competition. We have heard apparently Mr. Lighthizer say, maybe we have a scramble for resources now. So the one clear success of the trading system has created a new type of problems. So this sounds to me as if we don't only have to rethink trade, we have to rethink it rapidly, and we have to redo the trading system, and we have to move fast.